Welcome to the AEN Stories channel.
I used to think I was good at ignoring spam calls. It's a millennial survival skill. You let it ring, you let it die, you delete the voicemail before it can announce its existence. But the number that flashed on my phone that Tuesday afternoon was local, with an exchange that matched our dry cleaner and the pizza place Ella likes. I was in the garage, balancing a half-open box labeled Christmas lights? Question mark on my knee and wondering why every cord I owned had tied itself into knots. The call vibrated against my thigh, and for no reason at all, I answered. "Hello?" A man's voice, soft around the edges but not slurred. "Hey, sorry, is Rachel there?" She said she turned her phone off. I had a full 3 seconds to process the sentence. First, the name, Rachel, my wife's name. Then the tone, casual, familiar, like you might call to check if they want anything from the store. Then the content, she told him she turned her phone off, which, right now, she had. She was at a dentist appointment that had been a point on our shared calendar for 2 weeks. "Who is this?" I asked. My voice did a thing it does at work when a vendor insults us without meaning to. Silence on the line. Not static. Breathing. "Oh," he said finally. "Oh. Sorry. I thought this was I must have," a sound like a hand covering the receiver, then nothing. He hung up. The call sat in my logs like a thumbprint. Unknown number. 2 minutes. I stared at it long enough that my screen dimmed and my face reflected back, 42 with the lines I pretend are from laughing and not from grinding my teeth at night. The garage smelled like old cardboard and the lemon cleaner Rachel buys when she's trying to be someone who mops twice a week. I put the phone down and picked up a string of lights that may have been alive and told myself it was a prank. People dial wrong numbers. People say names. People panic. I made it through 10 minutes of pretending. Then I called back. The same voice answered, faster than he should have. "Yeah? You just called this number," I said. "Asked for Rachel." A beat. "Look, man. I'm her husband," I said, steady. On his end, the shape of his breathing changed. I pictured him in a car, the gray interior of every car, hand on the wheel, mouth going dry. "I'm sorry," he said again, and there was a flinch in the word that suggested he understood the difference between an apology and an admission. "I didn't know," she said, he trailed off. We were 2 men meeting in a room neither of us had planned to enter. "What's your name?" I asked. He tried to chuckle, the fake kind you use when the waiter brings the wrong order and you don't know whether to make it a thing. "That's not This is a mess." "What's your name?" I repeated, and heard in my own tone my father's voice, my high school coach's voice, 1,000 men trying to hold the shape of their lives with their throats. He hung up again. Rachel texted at 3:12 p.m. Dentist ran late. Heading to the store. Need anything? I stared at the bubble like it was a test. I typed nope and deleted it. I typed we need milk and deleted it. I typed who is he? And deleted that too. I finally sent get eggs if they're on sale. There is an art to pretending you don't know a thing you suspect, and I am not sure I recommend it. I lasted until dinner. It was one of those midweek dinners that keeps a family orbiting, sheet pan chicken, roasted broccoli no one celebrates. Ella had a science project due and had spent the afternoon turning a shoebox into a diorama of the water cycle that looked like a crime scene for cotton balls. She sat at the island, legs tucked under her, earbud in one ear because she has learned I let her keep one in if she keeps the other out. Rachel moved in the kitchen the way she always does, competent, quick, cutting the chicken with an exact rhythm of knife against board that signals you had a mother who cooked. She was in a soft sweatshirt I claim when it comes through the wash. Her hair was up and messy on purpose. She looked like home. The phone in my pocket felt like a foreign object lodged near an organ. "Mom, extra soy sauce?" Ella asked. "You can get your own," Rachel said, smiling. 2 hands, 2 legs, 2 functioning brain cells, as far as I know. Ella rolled her eyes in that adolescent way that is an act of love disguised as rebellion. "You're hilarious," she said. She hopped down and went to the pantry. I set the plates on the table and sat. The radio in the other room murmured a news thing I wasn't absorbing. Rachel took her seat and reached for my hand before we ate, a reflex of years of whispered grace we now keep silent because sometimes the words are too much. Her palm was warm. Mine wasn't. After we had all started chewing, I said it. "Who called me today?" Rachel blinked. "What?" "A man," I said. "Asking if you were here. Said you told him your phone was off." A color rose under the skin of her neck. It's a flush I've watched when she's embarrassed by praise, when someone tells a story that hits too close to her own, when she's angry and pretending not to be. She put her fork down with too much care. Ella looked between us, alert deer in the woods. "I have no idea what you're talking about," Rachel said. She's good with declarative sentences. It's part of why I married her. The world makes more sense when someone says a thing clean. "He called twice," I said. "You sure it wasn't a wrong number?" She countered. "There are a lot of Rachels." "He asked if you were here," I said again, and heard the edge in my tone sharpen. "He said you told him you were turning your phone off." "Dad?" Ella said. "What's going on?" I looked at her, 14 and trying so hard to be both a child and a person. "Nothing you did," I said. To Rachel, "Who is he?" "I don't," she started, stopped, pivoted. "Tom, I had a dentist appointment." "You saw it on the calendar." "I did," I said. And then I called a number back and a man whose voice I now know hung up on me. She folded her napkin in half, then in half again. "I don't want to do this at the table." "Where do you want to do it?" I asked. "The garage? The car? That anonymous conference room at work where we tell people we're going to circle back?" Her eyes flashed. "Don't do that thing where you get funny," she said. "You do that when you're scared." Ella stared at her plate. The broccoli cooled into a thing no one wants. I took a breath that felt like it had gravel in it. "I'm going to take a walk," I said. "You two finish dinner." I stood, grabbed my jacket from the hook, and stepped out into the evening that had decided to be colder than the forecast. Walking helps. It doesn't fix. It doesn't enring. But my father used to say you can't think in a room full of chairs, you need an open sky to make a good sentence. I walked past the Hendersons, Mike waved from his porch, Bandit thumped his tail. I walked past the little library on the corner where someone had put a hardback thriller and a note about kindness. I circled the block twice and called my parents on the third pass because there are days you need to remind yourself you once lived in a house where your biggest problem was whether a teacher liked your handwriting. My mom picked up. "Hey, honey," she said. "Everything okay?" Mothers know when everything is not okay. "Can I come by?" I asked. "I need to. I don't know." "Talk." "Always," she said. "We'll put on coffee." I went back home and said to Rachel, "I'm going to my parents'." Ella looked up, panicked. "You want to come?" I added, and she nodded hard, relief flooding her face because I had asked the question, because being included is sometimes the difference between fear and not. Rachel stood. "Tom, please. Can you tell me right now, in our kitchen, that there is nothing to tell?" I asked. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. "I can tell you I love you," she said. "That wasn't the question," I replied. I texted my dad that we were 5 minutes out. He responded with a thumbs up and a gif of a raccoon eating grapes, which he probably meant as a comforting thing. I love him for being the kind of man who finds animals on the internet when the world tilts. At my parents' house, my mom hugged Ella first and me second, in that order because she has always believed you steady the youngest before you steady the older. My dad cleared the mail off the dining table like we were bringing home a science project that needed space. In that room, under the oil painting of a barn that has hung there since 1989, I told them about the call. I did not say the word affair. Some nouns are like broken glass, you have to wait until you've got gloves. My mom listened with her head tilted, the way she listens to voicemails on speaker because she doesn't trust the phone to keep a secret. My dad stared at the table, a habit he has when he wants to solve a problem with his hands and there's nothing to fix. "What did she say?" he asked. "That she didn't want to do it at the table," I said. "That she loves me." He nodded like a man who has been sued and understands how sentences can be true and not sufficient. Ella sat with her hands in her sleeves, fingers worrying a thread. "Who is it?" she asked. "I don't know," I said. I called back. He wouldn't tell me. "Do you think Mom?" She stopped herself. "At 14, you learn about the cliff edge where your questions live and the wind that can push them." "I think something is wrong," I said. "That's what I think. I think a stranger called me and said my wife told him she was turning off her phone. I think that is a sentence that asks for a conversation." My mom reached for Ella's hand. "You're safe," she said. "No matter what, you're safe. I hope that will always be true. I hope I will make it true." We drove back to the house after an hour of coffee that didn't go down and advice that wasn't advice so much as mutual breathing. Rachel was on the couch, feet tucked under her, the dent in the cushion beside her the shape of me. The dishwasher hummed faintly in the kitchen. She had turned on the lamp with a soft shade because she knows I don't like overhead lights. "Can Ella go upstairs?" she asked. "No," I said. "She's old enough to know we're people. She doesn't have to hear every word. But she's old enough." Ella sat at the chair by the window, knees to her chest, like she watches storms. Rachel took another breath. "It was a man from work," she began. "We started talking. It felt like," she searched for the word and I hated what was happening because I recognized the exact register of her voice. It's the voice you use when you need to say a thing without dressing it up. "It felt like someone seeing me," she said. "It was stupid and selfish and I knew better the whole time. We messaged, then we met for coffee. Then lunch. Then more." She didn't look at Ella. She looked at me. "I ended it last week. I told him not to call me. He called anyway. I blocked his number. He must have called the house." I was quiet because every sentence deserves space to land before the next one is thrown. "What's his name?" She told me. It was a name that could be any man. I sat with it without making an enemy out of air. "Is he married?" I asked. "Yes," she said, shame like a bruise under her skin. "He said it was complicated." "It always is," I said, and heard in my own tone the exact weariness of everyone who has ever had to say that line. "I'm so sorry, Tom," she said. "I am sorry in a way that doesn't translate. I don't expect forgiveness. I expect to do whatever you need to feel like you're not living in a lie." Ella made a small sound, like a tiny hinge. "How long?" she asked, surprising me. 14 is old enough to want data. Rachel swallowed. "Since fall," she said. Ella nodded once, eyes dry in the aggressive way eyes get when they have decided not to give you the satisfaction of tears. She stood. "I'm going to my room," she said. She walked past us, steady, like a person on a balance beam. She didn't answer Rachel's goodnight. The next morning I called a therapist. I called a lawyer, too, not because I had made a decision, but because people who don't make calls are people who find themselves making decisions without information. I told Rachel to move into the guest room. I took the password off my phone and asked for the same. We opened calendars and texts and email. There is nothing graceful about those hours, and the people who write about brave transparency should have to sit in everyone's living room while it happens. It is awkward and clinical and both of you are too careful and too clumsy at once. I saw enough to know I wasn't being gaslit now. I saw enough to know I had been for months. I told my parents the bare facts and asked them to please not make it an indictment of Rachel's entire life. My dad nodded. My mom cried on the porch where neighbors sometimes see and then wiped her face and said, "We will be where you need us to be." The slow part is the worst part. If there had been a blowout, a scene, a shattered plate, maybe there would have been momentum. Instead there was daily life lugging its body through the house. Ella stopped answering Rachel's texts. She didn't slam doors. She didn't yell. She said morning to me and night to me and nothing to Rachel except once, when she needed a permission slip signed and her voice was a shard. Rachel went to work and came home and cooked dinner on Tuesdays like always and slept in the guest room. I mowed the lawn and answered emails and learned that my hands shake now when I hold a mug too loosely. At therapy, the counselor, Mara, mid-40s with the patience of someone who has survived a decade of staff meetings, said, "We're going to get the facts into the room and then we're going to ask what you want to build. Both can be true, that harm was done and that repair is possible. We will not decide today. I don't want to build anything, I said. I want to stop feeling like a stranger in my own house. That's a build, she said gently. Rachel said, I don't know how to ask to stay without sounding like I'm asking for mercy I didn't show. That sentence, Mara said, is a start. I told Rachel I needed rules, not promises. No contact even if he gets dramatic. If he contacts you, I see it same day. We do dinner together twice a week with phones in a bowl. Ella can choose to opt out of any conversation. We tell the truth once and don't weaponize retellings for sport. She nodded at all of it, took the list like a prescription, like a penance. My father came over on Saturday and helped me fix the sagging gate that has been scraping on the patio for 5 years. We worked in the kind of silence men call comfortable and our wives call insufficient. I'm sorry, he said at one point, low. Not just because it hurts. Because it's the kind of hurt that doesn't give you a good story. That's exactly it, I said. It's stupid and small and it got in everywhere. Ella stayed at my parents' that night. My mom made pancakes for dinner because pancakes aren't a kid food, they're a comfort food that forgives grown men for not wanting to chew. Rachel folded laundry at our house and found a hoodie of mine she hates and didn't say so and set it on my chair. These tiny domestic kindnesses became a problem, they looked like normal, and normal looked like betrayal. A week after the call, the man texted her from a different number, I miss you. She put the phone down on the table between us like a weapon she didn't want to fire. I'll block it, she said, and did. She emailed HR to request a project reassignment. She told a colleague she trusted the basics and asked him to be a witness if she got pushback. I watched her do this and understood, in the blandest, saddest way, that remorse is a verb. It's putting yourself between yourself and the thing again and again. It's not romantic. It's work. I don't know the end. That is the truest thing I can say without performing wisdom. I know that Tuesday happened and then 7 days happened and then 30, and we have filled them with counseling and co-parenting and choreography. I know Ella started answering Rachel's texts with a single word, okay, and that the day she wrote thanks instead felt like a bell in my chest. I know my parents bring over soup and don't stay, a gift I didn't know I needed. I know I stand in the garage sometimes, holding a string of Christmas lights in May, thinking about the first call and the second call and the whole a voice can punch through your life without showing its face. Rachel asked me last night if I could ever forgive her. I told her I don't know what that word means anymore. I told her I can tell the truth in the morning and be tender at lunch and be furious at dinner and go to sleep in a house where the door is locked and wake up in a house where coffee is made. Some days that looks like love. Some days it looks like limbo. Most days it looks like a list on the fridge with a Sharpie heart drawn by Ella when she was 8 that none of us have ever erased. If you're waiting for a neat bow, I can offer you instead the image of my daughter standing on the porch yesterday, thumb hovering over her phone, then lowering her hand and opening the door and saying, Mom, can we go get poster board for my project? The question was an olive branch disguised as an errand. Rachel grabbed her keys and nodded and didn't cry until she got to the car. I watched from the kitchen window and decided that I could keep breathing for 1 more hour. Sometimes the whole project of a family is convincing yourself to do the next non-dramatic thing until the drama drains out enough to make room for something else. Sometimes the phone rings and a stranger's voice rearranges your furniture. Sometimes you get to choose what stays bolted to the floor. Tonight, I will put my phone on the counter and let it sleep there. Tonight, Rachel will sit on the other couch and not reach for my hand. Tonight, Ella will text my mom a picture of a poster board with clouds glued on crooked, and my mom will reply with too many exclamation points, and I will lie in bed and stare at the ceiling and think, we are not okay. We are also not finished. Somewhere in that sentence is the life we still have to live. Thank you for listening my story. If you want more raw, real, and gripping stories like this one, subscribe to the AEN Stories channel. Your support keeps these stories alive.